Shall we start off today by looking at one of the earliest one on this list is Foreign Correspondent. Drew, would you like to give us a bit of a lowdown on that one?
Yes. It's August 1939, and the storm clouds are gathering over Europe. Joel McCrea's Johnny Jones, a New York crime reporter with a knack for getting in trouble, is rebranded by his boss as Huntley Haverstock and sent to London to report on the terrible crimes being perpetrated against poor, defenceless accents. While investigating multiple US citizens assaulting Dutch and German, he becomes involved with some individuals whose own concern is the hopefully not quite inevitable coming war. Amongst these are Herbert Marshall's Stephen Fisher and his daughter Carol, Lorraine Day, leading members of the Universal Peace Party, and Dutch diplomat Van Meer, Albert Basserman, witness to a crucial secret clause in a defence pact between the Netherlands and Belgium. This MacGuffin clause is of key importance and will affect German invasion strategy, so naturally they'll do a lot in order to get it. This lot includes assassination, and our Johnny sees Van Meer gunned down right in front of him before a peace summit in Amsterdam. Chasing the gunman through the Dutch countryside, he eventually discovers that dead Van Meer is in fact fake Van Meer, though still dead. And real Van...
Scant consolation to Van Meer.
And real Van Meer is being held hostage in order to extract the MacGuffin. Naturally though, by the time Johnny gets the police around to the windmill where he found the old man, there's nothing to see. After a failed attempt on his own life in a hotel, he meets up again with Carol, and the two of them fall in love and decide to marry as they head back to the UK, and well, why shouldn't they? They've been in each other's company for 93, maybe even as much as 97 minutes in total at this point. Back in London, the non-reporting reporter trips on the story yet again, and with his wonderfully relatable attitude of dead or alive, a story's a story, starts to track down Van Meer and the plotters behind his abduction. He may also, even if by accident, save an old man's life and stop a war. Spoilers for 1939, he doesn't stop a war. But at least he can try to bring one of the masterminds to justice, though a plane crash may get in the way of that. Foreign Correspondent has a lot of problems, some of which are simply products of its time, like Joel McCrea giving puppy dog eyes to Carol at her speech, and offence to all watching now, the tone-deaf, silent film-esque increased speed comedy section during the car chase, and the villain's perceived redemption at the film's conclusion, which would surely not have flown had it been released in 1945 rather than 1940. And of course the all-pervasive bloody underscoring. Perhaps its biggest failing is that the film's subtext is so on the surface that it's more or less, well, text. A propaganda film to encourage interest in the war from the US public and perhaps even begin to implant the idea of US intervention. The film's finale, with the rousing speech on the radio and the Star-Spangled Banner playing over the end title, is, to this viewer in space year 2019 at least, and in line with previous viewings, corny at best and objectionable at worst, but it must be pointed out that the USA of today is not the perceived USA of the 1940s, and the target audience is American. For all that, it is a Hitchcock film, with much of the skill and intrigue you'd rightly expect from that name, and it's a compelling and entertaining thriller. Elements of other Hitchcock works from both before and after are evident here, from The Man Who Knew Too Much in the 39 Steps to North by Northwest, and it rattles along at a great pace. A few scenes stand out visually too, particularly the assassin disappearing through a sea of umbrellas in the pouring rain. There's a likeable central performance from McCrea, despite his character's shortcomings, and his bantering with George Sanders' insouciant fellow reporter Scott Folliott is considerably better light relief than an old man failing to cross the street as the police chase a murderer. Lorraine Day is watchable enough as the hoodwinked member of the obviously not what it seems Universal Peace Party, but her role is relatively weak and hampered by the unnecessary and unbelievable romance subplot, which is itself emblematic of the sort of failings that stop this being top-notch Hitchcock. Again though, it is still Hitchcock, and therefore very much worth watching.
I don't know, I was neither compelled nor entertained.
Fair enough.
There is as you suggest, a sort of minimum standard of competence you get from a Hitchcock film and a minimum level of quality, but this probably is that minimum level of quality. I didn't really do an awful lot for me. I didn't hate it or anything like that, but it says here that Joel McRae is an actor whose career spanned almost 5 decades and over 100 films. My question to that would be, how? He's very, very bad. Didn't like him as a lead actor at all, and as you've mentioned, the romance subplot is literally laughable. I thought that it was going for a comedy at that point. There's an unfortunate sequence in that place, just when it's just sort of around that point where that kind of romance starts by him making the most ridiculous goo eyes at him and her getting all flustered, and it's just been an absolute laughable comedy moment for all the wrong reasons. And then it going into these weird little chase sequences like the bit with the old man crossing the road, which I think a little bit further up the road there's 2 guys carrying a pane of glass. It was just ridiculous. And
it's farcical. It's so out of keeping with the rest of the film and what it's about.
Yeah, and you've mentioned the number of films that he did later on, which kind of take similar-ish tropes and setups and plots, like North by Northwest is the obvious one, which is just leagues better than this.
Oh yes.
So there is. He's done a very similar film better a number of times since then, and I can't really imagine there's a lot of joy in going back and seeing this one as a priority. As if you're a Hitchcock completist, but it's not bad. I didn't hate it, but it's certainly one of his least interesting and enjoyable films that I've seen. It's still, being Hitchcock, gives it a certain level that's always going. It's never going to go below. But I can't really recommend people make this the top of their list.
I hadn't realised this was a Hitchcock film until you said just now, Drew. I had not seen it previously. I still have not seen it now, and so it would be somewhat disingenuous for me to offer an opinion.
Are you going to do it anyway?
No. On this occasion, no. That rarest of moments when I keep my mouth shut.
28th November 2019, folks.
Mark it in calendars.
A date that will go down in infamy.